Good evening, everyone. Can I please call for a motion and a second to reconvene the public meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence to honor our servicemen and women?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Spencer?
Present.
Mr. Regrosa?
She's present, she is just in the restroom.
Okay. Mr. Lorenzo? Mr. Lorenzo?
Present.
Ms. Napolitano-Inferno?
Present.
Ms. Mallon?
Present.
Dr. Centimore?
Present.
Ms. Iannatelli?
Present.
Mr. Kolahifar?
Ooh, look at these new things. Yeah.
Mr. Hassel?
Present.
Thank you. Sorry, we have new microphones and they're throwing us all off. Do we have student government?
Buttons, yeah, she doesn't know how to use
I
it.
think there's a button to the right.
Oh, okay, there we go. Hi, I'm Michaela, one of the Board of Ed reps from the high school, sharing a few upcoming events. There isn't a lot to report on this week, unfortunately, but our Valentine's Day sales are ending soon. The flowers will be passed out this Friday. Forms are, of course, still available, $2 for one flower, $5 for three. And then lastly, the student government is hosting a 3v3 basketball tournament on March 7th. It starts at 3:30 and it costs $30 per team. That's very important information. There's a prize for the top 3 teams. See Mr. or Mrs. Piscatelli to sign up. There's a beautiful paper flyer, but unfortunately I did forget it. But hopefully I'll get to see all of you dribbling out there on the court. Thank you for giving me your time.
Thank you. Can you just repeat the date of the game? I'm sorry.
March 7th, 3:30.
Thank you so much. Do we have Orba present? SEPTA? PTA Council? I will now open the floor for the first public comment portion of the agenda. An additional public comment period will be held later in the meeting. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping to the podium. You should have received the number card in the back of the room from security. If you have not, please see the security guard in the back. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1. Number 2.
Good evening, President. My name is David O'Shaughnessy. I'm the Chief of the Bohemia Fire Department. I'm here with members of my department to support the volunteer firefighters tax exemption. The tax exemption is a major part of our recruitment and retention in the fire service. As you know, we also include Lakeland Fire Department and West Sable Fire Department in your district. It becomes a huge part of our daily lives when we depend on these younger men and women to come out during the daytime and night and know that they have something to look forward to when they join this department. I would just like you guys to consider this moving forward, and thank you for my time.
Thank you.
I just want to say something. How do you do this? Oh, are these all new?
The right hand, the right hand, the right hand.
Oh, God. Thank you guys for your service.
Thank you.
I know that it's been tough all across Long Island getting people to volunteer. Thank you for volunteering and keeping us all safe. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Number 3. Just press the button on the mic, the one on the right.
These are new, so.
It's on the bottom, on the right?
Right here?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I stand before you tonight not only to speak on behalf of an incredible teacher, but to also express my deep concern for the future of education and the teachers who dedicate their lives to our children. The situation we're addressing should have never escalated to this point. This is the kind of matter that should have been addressed privately with a conversation, a resolution, and a chance to move forward. Instead, it has spiraled into something far beyond reason and fairness. Now we risk losing a teacher who has spent her career giving her heart, time, compassion to every child she encounters. Although my children have never had her as a teacher, she still found a way to make a connection with them, because that's who she is. To this day, whenever I run into her, she shares a story about each one of my boys, and with such love and joy, as if they were her own students. That's the kind of teacher she is, the kind who leaves an impact on every child she meets. But what worries me the most about this is the message it sends to the next generation of teachers. Both of my sons are studying to become educators. And seeing how one accusation, valid or not, can threaten a career is deeply troubling. If this is the environment we create, how many talented teachers will think twice before stepping into a classroom? We should be lifting teachers up, not tearing them down. At a time when education is already facing serious challenges, we can't afford to drive good people away. I urge you to consider what is at stake, not just today, but for years to come. We need this teacher back in the classroom with her kids, where she belongs. And we need to create a culture that values and protects those who dedicate their lives to educating our children. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Number 4. Number 5.
Hello, how are we all doing tonight? Marisol, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, excellent. I would like to say, Marisol, a compliment. The last meeting, when everyone was here, I thought you handled it very well, very professional, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to piggyback what that second speaker just said. I'm going to try to make 2 points tonight. I am also a teacher. I've been teaching for 29 years, so like that woman that was just up here, like she said, as a teacher, we give a lot of ourselves, and like this other teacher that has been suspended, I also am very, I get involved with my students, I care about them, I go to their soccer games, I go to their plays, and you know, when a child needs a hug, right, you gotta hug them. You know, that's affection, that's great, all right?
Well, let's just be very cautious on the words we're choosing to use.
You got it.
Okay.
So, I am very concerned also, where you can be a teacher for many, many years and be the best teacher and do the right thing for everyone, and no one denies that. You know, this teacher that I'm talking about, two of my kids had this teacher, so everyone says the same thing about this teacher for at least 25 years. And because a certain individual, and we all know there's a lot of individuals out today in the last whatever amount of years that, you know, the way they think is not normal. It's not, it's very abnormal. So because they make an accusation, a person gets penalized.
Hold on. There's always a process.
Well, that's my next thing I would like to discuss.
Okay, but just, I'm just asking you to please just watch how you
Yeah,
phrase
if I
things.
misspeak,
Okay.
definitely let me know.
Okay.
So, I hope there's a process, there should be a process, all right? In this case, I don't know what the process was, okay? But it just seems, you know, I know enough that, you know, again, I know as an administrator, we're afraid of lawsuits, right? We don't want a lawsuit. But you can't make a decision just for the fear of a lawsuit. Anyone can make a lawsuit, all right? So, you have to make the right decision on the basis of the teacher and who, where,
Hit the button, right side.
you know, her service for 25 years. But yes, my second point is, I would like to ask Jackie if I can, because I think she's been on the board the longest, if you don't mind. Jackie, what is the procedure?
No, hold on. You can ask me, and I'm going to actually have the superintendent answer that question.
Thank you. So when a concern is brought to the district's attention, it gets vetted. Certain concerns are going to rise to the level of a formal investigation. Fact-finding occurs. Information is gathered, and a determination is made. Appropriate actions are then taken. The process is intended to be fair, respectful of all parties, thorough, and timely.
So you would assume, let's say, whatever teacher is involved, that
You have to press the button, and
They
then
were
you have to
spo-
shut your button off.
that they were spoken to, they sat down, and there was a proper investigation.
So I'll speak in generalities, proper investigation.
So, children were spoken to, parents were
We're not
spoken
going to get into the specifics.
Well, I'm just saying, a proper
We're just giving
investigation.
Correct.
right? You would
Thank
hope a
you.
thorough investigation was done,
Yes,
right?
correct. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Is there a number 6? Okay. Can I please have a motion and a second to suspend the business meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I think we need that mic on.
Aye.
John, can you please shut the public mic? Can I please have a motion and a second to call the public hearing on the real property tax exemption, sections 467, 459C, and 466A?
Motion. Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So this would be the public hearing for the real property tax exemption, section 467 for persons age 65 and older. The public hearing for real property tax exemption, section 459C for persons with disabilities and limited income. The public hearing for real property tax exemption, section 466A for eligible volunteer firefighters. Public hearing. And the public comment for RPTL section 467, 459C, and 466A, public hearing only. So I will open the floor for the first public comment portion. This is for the public hearing only. So additional public comment periods will be held later in the evening. Please raise your hand if you have a question or comment on the public hearing. No one wants to comment? All right. Can I please have a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I please have a motion and a second to reconvene the business meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So now we will have a presentation from Mr. Allen on the capital improvement updates.
Is this gonna be from like the board discussions that I added? Because then we'll just take that off.
Yes.
All right, so then remove it.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
So I'm going to do as quick and a robust presentation as I can so everybody has time to listen to Mr. Hauser, because I know we all enjoy his budget presentations more than anything. So, Barry, if you go to the next slide, please. So as a district, we've done many capital projects over the years. You'll see that there's still a little bit of outstanding balance in some of the projects that we've done over the years. Not a lot. In 13-14, we actually have a plan to use during doing a little site work when we install the UPK playgrounds this summer, so that'll come off the books. We also have a fairly large amount from the 17-18 project. The reason why we still have that money there is because we were able to do the work in that scope of work at a discount and quite a bit of savings. So once we get a little further along into the 2022 project, we'll be able to go back, look at this, and make a determination as to how we want to expense this $1 million. It's not a decision that I will be making. It's something that the board's going to have to make because, like I said, we've already done all the work in that scope of work. So we're going to have to establish a new scope of work, and how we go about doing that will be with board input. We have the 18-19, $150,000. There's a couple recommendations. We actually have a section of the roof over at Cherokee that we've been trying to fix for the last 2 years. We've been bringing multiple contractors in. My recommendation is we use a portion of these proceeds to do that work this summer, as well as redesigning the director's suite at the high school. They don't have soundproof offices in their suite. They don't have private offices in some of the locations. Since we're doing the entire building with new air conditioning, we have an opportunity to do the rest of the design work and redesign work at a much more discounted cost than we typically would, so it's a perfect opportunity. As far as the 2019 project, this is what we talked about back in November with the playgrounds. This is the monies that we're going to do the Boston, Pearl, and Duffield playgrounds. And when I say playgrounds, I'm referring to 5 through 12-year-old playgrounds, not the UPK playgrounds, which is why you're going to see 2 playgrounds going into Pearl and into Boston. UPK is only up to the ages of 5, and those children really shouldn't be on the larger structures at all. So that's why we have 2 different scope of works when we're looking at this. And when we look at all this stuff, these are monies that have already been approved. So anytime we use these monies, there's no impact to the budget, there's no impact to the taxpayer, and we're maximizing building aid wherever we possibly can. In fact, tonight, one of the documents that we signed is going to allow us to maximize building aid for that very reason. So the next slide will actually show you a simple rendering of what the UPK playgrounds look like. They're going to have the play surfaces on the bottom, so we're not going to have the 5R. Everything's low level, small, low climbing areas, a little bit of shade to protect the kids as well. And that's going to go in 4 separate buildings: Slocum, Pearl, Boston, and Idlehour. In the next slide, you're going to see the ongoing work for the 2022 project.
Wait, can I ask you something?
Of course.
Wasn't there extra money left over for more playground equipment? Did we ever purchase that equipment?
We're in the process of doing that. So I presented back in November the idea of using monies from the 2019 bond, and that's where those playground monies are coming from. It's going to be 3 of the buildings that we're looking at right now. So that's going to be, like I said, it's going to be Pearl, Boston, and Duffield.
Okay, and that equipment was already purchased from the 2019 bond, or has it?
We submitted to the state. Now we have to go through their approval process. Unfortunately, their approval process is not as quick as I would prefer and like it to be. We're going to get a little further along, but you'll see as we start talking about ongoing work, I have an estimated, my estimate as to when we're gonna have SED approval and be able to complete the work. So I do touch on that as well.
Can we also, to be more transparent with this stuff, can we put something online, maybe part of this website that Connect Water is building, the district is building, maybe have where the community can see what has been done and at what time, like how we're doing this? Is there something we could do after a project is done and say, okay, these things are done, check?
Sure.
This is done, just.
Sure. The document that was created at the onset out of every project that since I've been here is we create a timeline, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, depending on the number of years we anticipate the work being done. And I could easily share that publicly. And like you say, find some way to identify each one, how we're doing as far as everything else. You'll see from this presentation, we're very tired of the project. But even as a look back to see all the things that we've done, whether it's the turf, whether it's bleachers, air conditioning in the different buildings, there's a lot of stuff.
Well, so that people see that the 2019 bond, this is what was done already.
100%.
This is what we still have left over, or what we're doing with the leftover. And this is, people see now with the new $60 million,
100%.
we want to show,
100%.
we want to show the community what they voted in.
Yep.
And be as transparent as possible.
100%. Yeah, so I'll do that for both the 2019 and the 2022 project. I'll create those spreadsheets and I'll highlight in some way what's been completed. It'll also show, and some of these slides do as well, the savings that we've been able to realize, which is allowing us to do additional scope of work within certain categories, playgrounds being the focus for 2019.
Thank you, appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
So this is the ongoing work for the 2022 project. High school's got a lot of work going on right now. Pool renovations, phase 2 of the roof replacement, electrical upgrades, and air conditioning, all the instructional spaces and offices. I anticipate all that work being done by September of this year. RMS, we've completed the second phase of the roof, so that roof has been completely replaced at this point. The electrical upgrades have been taking place and ongoing. HVAC is in the process of being done, so we're going to have all that air conditioning and RMS operational as of April of 25, next couple months. OBMS follows that same timeline and same scope of work. Slocum, we have a 100-year-old building, so we're doing some masonry reconstruction on the exterior of the building, as well as the electrical upgrades and HVAC. You'll see that a completion date of fall 2025 is anticipated. Challenge is the electrical equipment that we need to run all this new air conditioning equipment is long lead times. So the contractor has told me he doesn't believe it's going to be in until the summer. It's a question of how quickly we can get it tied into the system and get all the equipment operational. But in the situations of Slocum, and I'll add Pearl and Idlehour to that conversation, we are going to be making sure that every single space has a window air conditioning as of September 1st, so that we meet all of the new state guidelines as far as temperature not exceeding 85. That will never be an issue for us in these spaces, because in the 3 buildings that we won't have full active air conditioning in September, we will have window air conditioners everywhere. And then the 13-14 transfer to capital, that's one that we talked about back in November. That's using that transfer to capital to add the UPK playgrounds at those 4 buildings. In respect to projects that are currently up at the state, I anticipate approval any day. The only thing we're waiting for at this point is for those projects to be assigned a project manager. We have the architect and engineering reviews done, so any day we're going to get those approvals. With that in mind, we will start being able to do the next scope of work at Pearl and Idlehour, predominantly doing the electrical upgrades and the HVAC. You'll also see a couple of components there of ADA accessibility. We're going to be adding ADA components to all of the buildings. We've already done it at some of the buildings. In those particular buildings, we're talking about stage accessibility, so that regardless of people's capacity, they're all going to be able to access the stage, whether it's for presentation, spelling bees, talent shows, or anything of that nature. Pearl is also slated to get new boilers. We should be able to get those installed before the winter, but once again, those projects that you see, the electrical upgrades and the HVAC, because of the lead time with the electrical, I don't unfortunately see us having that fully operational until the spring of 26. Other things that are up at SCD right now, this is what we're talking about as far as the playgrounds. So they are at the state level now. Right now, the state is doing pretty well as far as approving things, but they're doing pretty poorly as far as assigning project managers. So we need all three components to be approved before we can move forward and get our building permit and actually go through the award process, lead time for delivery and everything else. That said, I'm going to be pushing as hard as I can to get Pearl and Basti done this summer, but Duffield unfortunately is going to take a little bit longer because we had to find inside projects in order to maximize the state aid. We're still going to be working as diligently as we can to get the work done as fast as we can. The nice thing about the Duffield playground, it's on the far side of the building by the athletic fields, or by the Little League fields, and it's a very spread out playground. So my hope is that we're going to be able to pick a location, leave the existing structures in place, install the new one, and not restrict the play out there nearly as much as we would elsewhere. So when we start looking at the remaining work for the 2022 bond, you can see that we really don't have a tremendous amount of work left to do on that entire project. We have a little bit of ADA accessibility in some of the other elementary schools. Duffield also has some asphalt work that needs to be done on the south side parking lots. A little bit of tile work, some tiles that are chipping in the 5th grade hallways of Cherokee. And at the high school, I have asterisks on this one because this is something that collectively we're going to have to make a determination on. It's something that I've already been talking about to the architect with as far as what we're going to be doing. The project was approved to put boilers into the high school gymnasium. The upper boiler room feeds the weight room and the new gymnasium. I know from all the conversations that have been had over the last half a dozen years that the board, or I should say the old board and the community would love to see air conditioning in gymnasiums and all other spaces as well. So, in my opinion, instead of replacing the upper boilers that would just be providing heat, we should seriously be considering using some of the savings that we've been able to realize in this 2022 project and adding air conditioning at the same time instead of duplicating the work. So we'll get a little further into that when I get to the next slide.
Were unit vents done? I know that the unit vents that heat and cool are supposed to be installed at all the buildings, I believe.
So
Have they been slated? I thought the scope of the work was supposed to already be done, but I'm not sure.
Slocum, you said?
No,
No.
Pearl, was it Pearl or was it
So
Slocum?
Pearl and Idle Hour are the two that have not yet been approved and not yet have started at all. And when you talk about unit vents, there's multiple ways to heat or cool a space. In the
So it's
case
just Pearl and Idle Hour alone?
that have yet to be approved, and
Slocum was done?
Slocum is in the process of being done now.
Okay,
Correct.
because I remember it was the three, okay.
Correct. So univents is one of the sources. You have fin tubes, you have radiators, you have rooftop units, you have a multitude of different ways that you can condition a space. The univents that we have in the district are all working, they're adequate, they do their job. But there are more cost-effective ways to provide air conditioning instead of taking those entire univents out, which are $50,000 to $60,000 each, when we could put split units on the walls, ceiling cassettes, or any number of other ways of doing it. So it's not a univent replacement program, it's an air conditioning program.
Okay.
And just know that with the air conditioning that we're doing, there's also a heat pump component to it, so we have redundancy. If we have a classroom that has an issue with the univent, we can turn the univent off, but yet we can turn the air conditioning system on that has a heat component, so we always have two sources of heat for all spaces now.
But so the univents, when do you think it will be approved? Normally, what's the normal average? Like, you think this will be done before the end of the summer, by September?
Okay, so that's what I was touching on earlier. We already have Cherokee, Duffield, and Basti complete. OBMS and RMS will be done in April. High school will be done by September. Slocum will be done sometime in the fall, all predicated on the electrical equipment delivery. And then Idle Hour and Pearl will probably be done spring of '26.
Why so far off?
Because the electrical components, the switch gear and the equipment that we need to run the electrical equipment is 50 weeks lead time at this point. And there's no way around that.
Oh,
Which is why.
It's really, I mean, I'm only saying this because you know that I like equity across district.
100%.
And that doesn't sound equitable when we're gonna have 2 schools that have to wait till 2026?
That's why we're gonna make sure we have window air conditionings in every space. So every space is gonna be air conditioned, but it's not gonna be done with the formal equipment that the capital projects.
Yeah,
There's
that's a
no,
good question. Is it gonna be, like Marisol said, is it gonna be the beginning of 2026 or the end of 2026?
so the projects aren't approved at the state, so I can't tell you until I get approval and I can get the architect to do the bids, and I can sit there and do the work with the electricians to find out who the awarded electrician is and when the lead time is for the equipment. The challenge, and I understand your point about, equity across the district, this has been a concern of mine from day one.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, how did it come down to those 2 schools? Was it because they were the 2 smallest? Is there a reason that they're the 2 left over?
So,
Or left for last, I should say?
a little bit in that respect, you're absolutely correct. I mean, when you do a capital project, this was a $60 million capital project.
I know, I was a big proponent of wanting the air conditioning.
Understood. And one of the things is, it's impossible to do that much work in 1 year. It has to be phased in. It's an impossible task to do that amount of work in a 2-month summer and everything else. So when we did the first wave of work, I looked at the buildings that had the largest amount of special ed programs. That was the first buildings that we looked at when we air conditioned them. When we did the next wave of buildings, we did it based upon student size, because if I'm going to do a building and I can get 400 kids satisfied, 40, 50 rooms versus 20, it makes more sense as far as that logistically. It really is it's a problem trying to get that much work done in a short period of time. There's only a couple of contractors that have proven themselves able to handle that quantity and that scope of work. So to end up getting 2, 3, 4 different contractors would have created a whole lot more problems to the district in the long run. But that's why we're going forward with the window air conditioners, to make sure that we satisfy those spaces as well. And that was something, when I created the recommendation for the four-year rollout, that was laid out. I mean, we're following that pretty well as far as.
I remember it being, but I was under the assumption that by the middle of 2025, everything was gonna be done. At least for these schools. I was hopeful that it did sound like it was gonna be one of those things from 2022 to 2025. We're in 2025 now. We don't know if it's gonna be till the end of 2026.
2025, was impossible.
It's 2 years. It could be 2 years off though.
If we get it approved now, so there's different timing sequences here as well. My concern is the air conditioning component of it. I'm not worried about air conditioning in the winter and everything else. So if we look at approval, if the state tomorrow says you've been approved, we then go through the bidding process, which is, we have a month before our next board meeting. So even if we went through the approval process, we put the bid on the street, we vet all those responses, we call all the vendors, we call the recommendations, we get all that kind of information, we make a recommendation. It may not make the March 11th meeting, it may not make it until the March,
But this is
25th
something
meeting.
that you could request the board meet and have a quick meeting. We've done it for other things.
We could, but I don't think a week or 2 is going to make a difference.
Well, I'm
at
saying
this
if it's
point.
a month, if it's a month in between meetings, we're
Well,
we're meeting for board goals on the 25th of February. There's always something.
Understood, Jack. And that's not what I was implying. I didn't mean to say that, that it's a board meeting that's holding it up. It's just that there's a sequence that has to take place.
I understand.
And then, then the lead time. I mean, if all things go well, and I have the ability to award to an electrical contractor, let's call it mid-March, they may turn around and say, I'm not gonna be able to get the equipment for 40 to 50 weeks. It's the same conversation we've had since the first time I shared an air conditioning project. The lead time on this switchgear has been a year's time. And I've shared that multiple times in the last couple of years. It's just it's a monster. It's a monster. So it makes it a challenge.
I just have to share Jackie's sentiments, because I feel like since I've been on the board, and this is my 4th year, I've been asking about those playgrounds, and I was under the impression they'd be done by this year. And now to hear that not even till next year, not even till the end of next year, as a
Now we're
possibility.
talking playgrounds.
Yeah.
So now playgrounds, I was saying that we're gonna try to get those playgrounds done this summer and fall. The 4 UPK playgrounds have been ordered. The purchase orders have been cut. The contractor has ordered the materials. They're planning on having access to the materials in April, but I can't do the work in the middle of the school year in April.
Is the handicap equipment, did we at least get that already, or are we still waiting on that?
We're talking to,
The handicap, the playgrounds, we wanted there to be accessibility for handicapped children.
so the handicap, all the playgrounds are ADA accessible. You know, and I think we talked about this in
Like the
November as well.
swings, if there was handicap swings,
So,
if there was,
so what happens with the swings is it comes with ADA compatible swings. If we don't have anybody in the building that is ADA, restricted, we don't put that swing out. We'll put a regular swing out there, but we do have those swings. One of the things too is we didn't replace all the swing sets in all of the buildings, so some of the historical swing sets, they may only be 10, 12 years old. We didn't replace them just to make them ADA compliant or add that component to it. We certainly can, but that's not been part of the conversation. As far as the other playgrounds, the playgrounds were one of the very first projects we did back in 2019. When that 2019 bond was approved, playgrounds was first and foremost. We had a couple buildings that at the time, so now we're looking at, we're 5 years later, the Duffield playground 5 years ago was fine.
we went there I was there for the ribbon cutting.
You went to so we have multiple playgrounds in most buildings.
Yeah, but that was the one where they were spinning on the spin.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And that playground is used predominantly for K1, 2,
Yeah.
and then 3, 4, 5 is on the opposite side of the building, on the north side. And that building, we had all our inspections, nicer inspections and everything else, and it was fine. We didn't have any problems at all. In the last year and a half, we've started having individual issues with certain things like the cladder bridge and one of the ladders leading up to the swings. And we're finding that manufacturer doesn't provide replacement parts. So now we're putting a piece of plywood up and we're safing off a section of the playground because we don't have an option. 5.5 years ago, it was not slated to be replaced at Duffield because they already got the one playground on the other side. Thankfully, we have savings from that project that we're able to augment the playground project and do more than we ever anticipated. So when we get to the 2022 bond, I talked about the upper boiler room and everything else. We do have some considerations. So to date, we have saved a substantial amount of money on the 2022 capital project. Dr. Senimore and I, from day one, were up on the roofs. We were looking at the scope of work and how we might be able to change that scope of work so that we would realize some savings. We found substantial savings. The way we're doing the air conditioning work is generating substantial savings. And this district, has always done project management in-house. So those components have put us in a position where we have about approximately $5 million of savings on that $60 million project. It's going to allow for some great conversations as to what we want to see done. I do have some recommendations, and I put them out there just as a talking point. We're not in a position to start acting on them because 1, we'd have to agree to it. 2, we'd have to develop the scope of work with the architect. 3, it has to go up to the state for approval, and then we have to go through this whole drawn-out process all over again. But I would like to see the pool renovations to include the showers and bathrooms. When the committee approved the pool renovations, it was for the pool itself, plumbing and everything else below, but it didn't include pool renovations in the showers and the bathrooms. I'd like to see that considered. It means getting prices and making sure it falls within our scope of work, and it's something that everybody is in agreement to, but that's a recommendation of mine at this point. You can see up there again the substitution of the replacement of the upper boilers. I'd like to see a rooftop unit up there that provides heating and cooling. So both of those components are with the architect. We're not acting on it. We're not doing anything except for exploring it and coming up with some ideas and some recommendations that I'll ultimately be able to share to the board. There are other things though. When we start looking at it, idle hours is, their boilers at idle hour have not been replaced in 24, 25 years. They're working, they're okay. We've had problems with the castings, we've had cracked boilers, we have redundancy, we have 2 boilers, so we go back and forth, we've made insurance claims, but it's something worth considering depending on the funding that we have available to us at the end of the project. Other things to consider, district-wide gym and cafeteria air conditioning. Last year, as an internal project, the Plant Facilities Department upgraded the air conditioning, put air conditioning in the Pearl cafeteria. It was done for 2 reasons. One, we had a heating system in there that was failing, so we didn't just sit there and arbitrarily take Pearl and say we're going to do that. We had a heating system that was failing, so when we put a new system in there, thankfully our guys were confident and capable enough to do it and install it themselves, but we put units in there that also provided air conditioning. So we've satisfied that space. Sycamore, we did a large renovation project in there. We added air conditioning in this space. We're also looking at adding air conditioning in Slocum right now because we're renovating the space. We're getting rid of the old built-in tables, the old Formica, and we're updating the space. So there are some spaces, gyms and/or cafeterias, that are going to be more difficult to do. Idle hour is a perfect example. We have a cafetorium down there that involves a stage, a cafeteria, and an athletic space. It's a huge ceiling. I can't put a small little unit in the wall and satisfy it. That's going to be a rooftop unit with steel and everything else. It's going to be a big expense. But in order to have the same services and the same facilities at idle hour is something we're going to have to strongly consider. Upper turf replacement. The upper turf field was done a couple of years after the lower turf, so that's something that in the coming years is going to be something that we have to consider. If we don't have capital funds, being able to do that work is not going to be supported by the general fund, so it's something we have to consider. It's not a recommendation at this point, but it is something I just want to make sure I put it out there and consider. Asphalt work. We've done a lot of work in these buildings. I mean, this district has been phenomenal about supporting capital projects. We've also been very fortunate in the way that the previous capital projects were done in this district. So every time a capital project has expired the debt, we've filled it in. So we haven't impacted the taxpayers in a manner where they saw their taxes increase because of capital projects. We kept substituting additional capital projects, and it's put the infrastructure of this district in great shape. But there's things to do. Asphalt work, both middle schools, the high school, the asphalt up there is tired. Not flashy, not funding something really worth talking about, but it's something to consider at some point. So that gets us into the planning for future projects. So one of the big pieces that a district does, plant facility does, is we are required, as per the state, to do a building conditions survey every 5 years. Last one was done in 2020. We're up to do ours in the summer of 2025. That will give us a basic snapshot in time of the facilities in this district. They'll look at everything from windows to roofs to asphalt to the building envelope. They look at it all. We're going to take that information, combine it with the projects that haven't been done in the 2022 projects, asphalt being one of them. That's a big ticket item that shows up in the 2020 project that we never got a chance to do because it didn't meet the standards of some of the instructional stuff that we were able to do. So we'll look at that. The debt service schedule, we just touched on it real quickly. This district does not have another capital project coming off. We don't have debt service coming off for the next several years. I think it's actually 8 years before we have a bond that's coming off. So, the board always has the prerogative to do a capital project, but if we do it, we got to make sure that we calculate exactly what the taxpayer cost is, because in this case, we don't have retiring debt to offset that additional debt that we would have to take on. Go ahead.
I was about to ask, but see that's on there, for the committee though, we would have to get a committee together
100%.
Over the summer. You would have to, because that process took so long the last time.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you have stakeholders and taxpayers that are willing to walk through the buildings and look into this stuff.
And it was
it
a
was
phenomenal committee too.
Yeah, no, it was great.
The
But
people
but what I'm saying, it's a lot bigger than just getting some people together and,
Yeah, and
a month or two. It's a full year
No.
process.
Yeah, we started it up this September before May, so this district
Yeah,
has,
full school year.
yeah, this district hasn't tried to slip capital projects under the radar and do a December, January vote. They've done it at the May ballot with the regular budget, so it's always been a parallel conversation when you sit there and you talk about the budget and you talk about the capital projects. So we've started those conversations in the last two major projects in September. By December, we're trying to make recommendations so that they can be incorporated and factored into the budget conversations, and then it's constantly sharing. You know, it was setting up tables at large events, being available to answer questions, going to the local fire departments, going to all the civic associations, going anywhere that people would let me speak. I know I wear people out, and I apologize, but
I would say you're taking first place over Bob.
yeah, and I apologize. There's a lot of information, and it's a lot of money. And you know, to Jackie's point earlier, the community needs to see all the work that's being tackled and all the work that's being done. Yes, there's some hiccups, there's some roadblocks, there's some hurdles. I think at the end of the day, we are still light years ahead of all of our neighbors.
You guys are doing a phenomenal job. When I see all these different buildings, including what you guys did in one of the, I think it was the cafeteria.
That was Pearl, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, it looked
Yep.
amazing, it looked
Yep.
amazing,
Yep.
and then you took me into the other, was it Slocum?
Slocum.
And I said, when is this one gonna get done? This one's gotta get done now.
Yep.
So I do respect and appreciate what you guys and all of them do. They do a great job.
It's all of us.
It's just a matter of, I feel like the community asks us, I get questions all the time, Jackie, was this done, was that done? And I feel bad, because I'm like, we spoke about it, I know it's being worked on, but even we don't know if it's completed.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you don't tell us,
No.
it's just with all the stuff that we get each, session.
meeting, every meeting.
It's a lot
Yep.
to know everything. So I just think it would be great if we could be more transparent, especially since we're doing the website anyway, and just have out there what was done. I think people would love this, even something like this, even the slides.
I will start working on that tomorrow, honestly. We'll do the 2019, we'll provide pictures, we'll provide documentation, we'll do all of that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things that I've presented in snippets over the years, and there's not a repository of all of that information, so if we want to do it on the website, absolutely. And I don't take any credit at all for this. I've been blessed with the opportunity to share, to make the vision of the board and the community a reality. And I tell you, we've done a lot of really good stuff, So I did talk about the debt service. One thing that is out there, we do have savings from this project. We have savings from 17, 18, we have savings from 19. We also have a capital reserve. Now, it may not be the best of times to be putting money into a capital reserve, but it does exist for that purpose. If and when the opportunity comes, we can also go that route and look at doing some stuff in time when those funds add up to enough to tackle some of the stuff. So questions?
I think you were very thorough.
I
I think we
mean,
asked a lot of questions
yeah.
throughout.
I tried to be quick, I'm sorry.
Sorry for
you were-
interrupting, it's just easier to ask the questions while I'm thinking of them.
You were great, Mr. Allen. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all the work
I
you and your
appreciate
team
the opportunity, I
does.
really do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Food service update, Mr. Hauser.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to make this very short, okay, because this is still another presentation. So this is just going to be a quick overview of food service. I don't think we've done one in quite a while. So what I'm about to show you, and there's really only one slide after this, is just the results for January 2025 versus January 2024. Before I begin, I just want to say that our food service program here is 100% self-sustaining financially. Okay, the general fund of the district does not contribute $1 towards this program. The other thing is the community eligibility provision, the CEP program. It started last March, so we've yet to see a full year worth of data, but what I'm about to show you should be pretty impressive. 9 of the schools are on the CEP program, and 1 school, Idle Hour, is on a separate waiver program. All the progress that we've made over the last 10 months since last March has only been possible with our incredibly dedicated food service staff. I mean, we've managed to have incredible results and been able to serve an amazing number of meals with the new program with the staff that we have. And also just want to thank Kristen Lulla, our Director of Food Service, for helping me with some of this data. Okay, so here's just a snapshot, January 2024, January 2025. I'm not going to get into too many of the technicals, even though last year at the top of the line there had 3 more service days than the current January. As you can see on the second line there, the breakfast meals that were served. A year ago, we only served 818 breakfast meals to our students. This past January, we did over 30,000 breakfast meals. Okay. Once again, those meals are at no cost to the students as well. Lunch meals, a little bit of a different story, pretty even from last year, a little slight bump, but not much. Next line, a la carte. Those are the items that students pay for, whether they be a drink or a separate meal item there. We're seeing a little bit of a decline over the year there. We may have to change up the menu a little bit. Meals per service day, that's just a calculation we go to determine exactly how many meals are being served, but we're serving just shy of about 5,000 meals a day. Okay, and then the next line down is just our enrollment. Okay, I provided a little bit of information here on the revenue that comes in from the program. All right, so our federal reimbursements, state reimbursements, and then any students who pay or staff who pay for a meal. There's a revenue line there. In blue towards the bottom, I highlighted how much we actually pay our food service management company, which is Aramark, on a monthly basis. You can see that the amount we pay them ticked up slightly due to all those meals that we're providing. But the bottom line here, at the very bottom of the page, is the profitability of the program. So you can see it's significant and the program is self-sustaining. Any questions?
I want to just let you know that I'm excited for the kids to have the Yes Chefs. I'm so happy to see that it's finally back. I know it was something that we advocated for, and I'm happy to see that they got it on the board, and it looks like every school's doing it, which is awesome.
Yep, second time around.
Just as far as the a la carte going down, I don't know if it's because maybe some parents don't know that they could still put money on their, whatever the app is called,
Lunch.
the My School Bucks to supplement, because now that the lunches are free, maybe people don't know that they could still use that. I know my kid buys a second lunch, so sometimes so a lot of people might not know that the a la carte is even available.
And we are trying to identify, why that's, I'll say significantly lower than prior January.
I thought that was good.
Any other questions from anybody? All right, budget presentation, enrollment, staffing, and programs, Mr. Hauser.
All right, we'll try to get through this one as quick as possibly, but I might need a little help from my friends to the left. So here we go. This is, I believe, our third budget presentation. We started back in January. All right, and today we're just going to take a quick look at enrollment, enrollment projections, as well as looking at elementary staffing and class size projections. Okay, real quick, here's the calendar. I put this up for the last two presentations. In yellow, I highlighted where we are today. So we're, I guess, around 90 days away from actually voting, maybe 60 days away from adopting the budget. Okay, the budget development process, I'm not going to read this. There's a lot of different things, but we do go through a significant process here to actually develop the budget, get it to the point in April where the board can adopt the proposed budget, and then we get that budget ready in May for the public to actually vote on it. This here is our current enrollment at each of our school buildings. This is as of January 31st. All the way over to the far right, I believe the third column from the right, all the way down to the bottom is our total enrollment of 5,227 students. And that number will be shown again on a separate slide. This is a graph we've put together that shows the enrollment history at our district all the way back to 2007-8 school year. If you follow that red line all the way to the right to where it ends, just above the red line is that 5,227 number, which I just showed you on the previous screen. The blue line is based on an enrollment and demographic study that we had Western Suffolk BOCES do back in 2018. So as you can see, BOCES projected that our enrollment would be lower than what it actually is. So that's a good sign. Any comments on this slide?
I mean, it's close though. I mean, for what they projected, you're talking about a handful of kids. You're not talking about, you're talking about 8, 9, 10, no, it's 50. Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm wrong. I'm thinking it's 27, 18. Question for you. It's still going down significantly over the years, and the decline just keeps going. Has anybody thought about what we're going to do as we continue going down? I mean, at some point, you're going to get to 4,000 students. Then what?
Well, one of the things we may want to consider, it's been like 7 years since the last demographic study, enrollment demographic study. We may want to consider having another study done to give us a better projection with current numbers.
I would approve that. I would say yes to that. I think that would be great because we need more data, and right now you're at the end. That only goes to 2029, 2028, 29. So you figure if you got a new one, we would get more years and it would go out further. It would give us a better projection.
Yep. Can we go on to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here, and I'll defer to my colleague, Mr. Kolahifar, on the enrollment summary for the elementary schools.
So these are the elementary enrollments. The reason that the numbers under the K column, the kindergarten column, are highlighted in red is simply because those are projections, and we really don't know as of yet. So we take the current enrollment of kindergarten and we assume that that number is going to be what we have, excuse me, moving forward. And therefore, as you can see from this list, these are the elementary general ed sections, and our change is roughly will be down 2 fewer
I'm about to say something.
elementary sections based on the budget guidelines that the board has given us in the past, which if you just take the number of sections, for example, in kindergarten for Basti, there are 37 kids projected for kindergarten. There are 2 sections, so that's roughly about 19 or so, 18 or 19 kids in a section in kindergarten. So you can figure out the average just simply by dividing the number of sections into the number of students who are enrolled. We also then, to project forward, we just take the current kindergarten, make them our first grade, our current first grade becomes our second grade, and so on and so forth.
So quick question
Yes, ma'am.
here. Cherokee has 590 students.
Yes.
We are bursting at the seams there, right? I don't understand why we are not looking into, and I know that it was something that you guys were looking into at some point, the idea of the special education. So I put that on for board discussions later on. You can cross it off because I'm going to talk about it right now. I wanted to see some sort of phasing where we started to move the kids or looked into a projection of moving the kids, opening special education classes at all buildings. It was something that parents had asked for in the past. Because the other problem is you have some kids that are, they're homeschooled, the students who are general ed, who have a special education sibling, we gave them the opportunity to either go to the same school or to go to 2 separate schools. But in doing so, we put these families at a disadvantage, because once the child who's, let's say, the special education child is the older student, once they move up to secondary level, you now have a student that's in the other school, let's say it's Cherokee, and their home school could be Duffield, or their home school could be Slocum. Well, no, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I thought they kept them north side and south side. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they still do that. And I don't understand why we're not looking for a better way, because Cherokee is, when me and Mr. Allen went to Cherokee, it got to be a year or two ago, we couldn't even find one classroom available. You know, I go to other schools and there's a bunch of classrooms available. Why are we making it so that this one school is bursting at the seams, and we're also giving them a predominantly large number of special education students, right? I mean, it's them and Sycamore that take the most. And
Yeah, but
Boston
even
is
if you're
some.
saying, like, they're separated by north side, south side, right? So, I forget what side we are on
Yeah,
this.
I'm north
So
side, you're
Sycamore,
south side.
Sycamore and Basti are both on one side. There's two schools with secondary, with special ed, but then on the north side, you only have Cherokee. So why
But
not
that's
add another
because,
school?
right, well, that's also because you have more schools on the south side, more, but you don't have, it's not the more, if you look at the number of students per se, that's why I'm saying, you have 590 students, and Cherokee has complained in the past. I don't know if they're complaining now, but I'm fairly sure that this has been going on for a few years, and I've said for the last 2 or 3 years, why don't we look into moving some kids back to their home school? Because again, you can't tell the sibling now, okay, your sibling graduated, now go to Duffield or go to Slocum, where you don't know anyone because the kids that you grew up with are Cherokee. It's just unfair the way that this is being done.
So I could speak. There's a few different points here. It's not about anybody complaining, it's about constantly reviewing. So a couple of points here. In terms of 7 elementary schools, last year, my first year, we did look at our special education enrollment across the elementary levels. And, you know, this was part of my education coming to the district, because I do agree in an ideal world, students would stay at their home elementary school regardless of their programming. And what I learned last year, in terms of having it universal in all 7 schools, we didn't have the numbers to do it. It would have been staff prohibitable, and it would have been a negative impact on the budget. But to one of the points that you were making, that we are looking at, is could you take some program and put it in another building and kind of spread it out a little bit? So we are having those conversations.
Well, I'm just saying, like Marisol just showed me, so we have in the south, you have 1,047 students. In the north, you have 1,140. The north is only made up of 3 schools, the south is made up of 4. So at what point do we say, I mean, I know that I asked a couple of years ago, I know you were on the board, when I asked for a data on, and it wasn't really, people didn't love the idea, but to look into the data of moving students from, like, changing the jurisdiction of each school. Do you know what I'm talking about? Redistricting, that was it. We just redistricting, more so looking at a way to do it in a way that didn't hurt people. There was ways to phase it in, like let your students graduate from the school once they're in, and then move them. It was a way that, it was like you would do it over a period of a decade, or you do it over a period. You have to do something, because you can't keep having Cherokee have 590 students versus, let's say Sycamore's the next biggest, and it's 368. Now, Basti is the same, isn't Basti the same size school? I've been in it. It looks like an identical school except for the extra wing. So you're looking at, Basti has 268 students versus Cherokee with 590.
So 2 different conversations. One is the special education programming and how it is best to disperse it across the district, compared to a redistricting of all 7 elementary schools in terms of the boundary lines. That would absolutely require a study.
Well, that was,
to look at something like that, but
Didn't-
that's separate from
No,
the
but
special ed programming.
Ressa, didn't we ask for this a couple of years ago?
You did,
Under
you asked
Dr.
for,
Adams?
yeah, like a Princeton model we
That
looked
was
at.
it, yes, we wanted to look into.
Yes.
It wasn't, listen, it's not to knee-jerk reaction, it's to look into the data and see what we can do. Something has to be done that's a better option for this. I mean, we're seeing more issues coming out of having so many kids in one building versus, it just can't continue, can't sustain.
It just doesn't seem fair. Like, I think 590 is more than we have in one of the middle schools.
It is more than we have in OBMS. It is absolutely more than we have in OBMS.
So what we could do is, we could get some pricing from BOCES, Bob, Mr. Hauser, on kind of a combo meal of things, enrollment, and any kind of a, look at redistricting, and we can get some different kinds of, some pricing, and then I can, once we have that, I can present that to the board.
It would be nice to see what a rollout would look like. What we could do where, like I said, it doesn't harm children, you don't want siblings separated, you want to look into what options. And then even if it's something that you put out to a vote to the
Right.
public.
And so I think it's important, since this will be replayed about 5 million times, about redistricting.
We're
that
not
this-
re-
this is-
we're
this
not
is-
redistricting
so let me-
right now.
So as you hit replay on the YouTube, this is a brainstorming right now, that we're doing, and we're just gonna get some information. So again, hit replay on what I just said. This is
Well,
a brainstorming right now.
That's why I'm asking, if you moved the special education students, some of them back to their home schools and made programs there, even if you couldn't do it at every school, which it would be nice if we eventually could, but if we couldn't, at least alleviate some of the congestion at that one school. I mean, that school has you gotta admit, that's a lot, and there's no classrooms.
In terms of the special education component, I think it would be helpful. I will ask the curriculum office and the special education office to kind of put a chart together for the board in terms of, the numbers across district, particularly at the elementary level. So you have a better understanding of, why we have the current format. Doesn't mean the current format is the only format, but why we have the current format. I'll ask them to put that together.
I believe from a few years ago that the reason was a matter of budgeting, which made sense to condense. Like you said, we didn't have the numbers. But it seems like the numbers are growing rapidly. I think the number is 1063, if I'm not mistaken, for special education students. I know it's over 1,060. I think that SEPTA told me it was 1,063 students. If that's how many students we have in this district that are special education, or fall under the special education with the 504s and the IEPs, I think that we need to really take a very deep dive in and find out what we can do. Is that something that we could do? Alleviate, look into Duffield, look into Slocum, look into what other schools we can move some students to. Is there something we can do that actually works for the students on both sides? It would, like I said, it would be nice to have a rollout in the future where you had every school had their own program.
I just want to be, if we're going to do that too, can we look into what it would look like to, I would say, leave any existing special education student where they are and like going forward? A change, because it could be really disruptive.
Yeah, but not even special education.
Yeah, like
Even general ed,
Well,
like,
yeah,
not
but I
even-
think like easier to execute than a redistricting might be just like a movement of a program to
Yes.
like FOSTI, like you said, because it's definitely significantly lower.
But that's why I said a rollout, meaning we would never say to somebody, you're in Cherokee, you gotta go, that's it. I would never be okay with that. I'm saying we should look into a deep dive into the data and say, is there a way to, going forward, here come the new students, they don't have siblings in the school. Parents feel, as it is, I don't even know if you guys know, over the years, there have been students that have moved in like 3rd grade, 4th grade, and they petitioned the board to stay in their home elementary school. At no time since I've been on the board, in the last 6 years, have we ever, at least not that I know of, have we ever declined allowing a student to stay where they were. We've always said, if you started here and that's where you wanted to be, but there comes pros and cons with that as well. while I have no issue with allowing students to stay where they're comfortable, where they were, you know, they've been raised, they know all the teachers, they're comfortable, that there's something to be said for a student whose educational environment is comfortable to them. I also think we need to be realistic here, though. How much more sustainability can Cherokee take if you continue to put more and more students there?
Can I ask if, like, these numbers encompass the CAPS program and the other things that, you know, or they don't? Okay. Just because I wanted you to be aware that, you know, the number seems low at, you know, like, I'll use Boston as an example, but they're not encompassing the CAPS program and the other programs that are there that also have students.
No, and I just want to be very clear, these are the elementary general ed numbers. Now, Cherokee, Mr. Napolitano-Ferno, you are correct. Cherokee and Sycamore does include the special ed numbers, but I did not include the CAPS program at Boston or any of the UPK numbers. Those are not in here at all.
That's why there's.
SE does not stand for special ed?
No, it does.
No, he's saying the special ed numbers are in there. The special education.
The special ed numbers are in there,
That's
but
Cherokee's
things
fault.
like Bosti's CAP program and the UPK programs at the different buildings, that's not included in these numbers.
I just wanted to point out that, you know, there's not always rooms available at the other schools. But I know that Boston is full capacity and every room is actually utilized. So even though we're looking at these numbers and we're thinking about where to go, you do have to do that assessment, like was said, that how many open classrooms really are there at each one of the other schools?
Well, I'm looking at it from the standpoint that when we've gone around and looked at schools, there are schools that are smaller than others, but that have classrooms available. They also have smaller class sizes. So that's the other issue. You know, you look at Cherokee's numbers and then look at other schools' numbers. I mean, over the years, I've advocated for Cherokee. I have advocated for all, but I've advocated for Cherokee being such a big school, and there not really ever being people there hasn't really always been somebody on the board that is actually from the north side. And what I've said to people is, you gotta look at it from a standpoint that we can't just always look at just the south side. The north side needs to be looked at, especially with 590 students in one elementary school. That is a bigger enrollment than we have at OBMS. And OBMS is far larger than Cherokee.
Yeah, no,
It's insane.
I totally agree, but I do want to do the math for you. So if you have 79 students and you divide it by the 4, you have an average of 19 to 20 students. If you go to Idlehour and do the 43, you're having 21 students per class. So you actually have more students per class in some of the other schools than you do at Cherokee if you do the division into the classrooms.
If you look at how it's going to end, not what we're given right now. If you look at the numbers at the very end, okay, you'll see what I'm saying. I know what you're saying, but there's 20 students in each class, right here.
Yeah, I'm not
I understand
arguing,
that.
I'm just pointing out some of the
No,
obvious.
I understand
And I
that.
definitely understand that that's a big school. I just wanted to say that
But
if you do
like-
see that they have 4 sections versus 2 in every other school besides Sycamore.
Right, and like I've said in the past, if you look at some of the numbers though, look at Duffield. So 51 students, 3 sections. You know, I'm just
Yeah,
saying, 45 students, 3 sections. Listen, I'm happy. I'm glad that the kids get small classes. You know, I've always said. But what I'm saying is it's unfair to have a school where you have 590 students and you don't have, if you look at it and you think of it like this, there's no room there at all. I've been told in the past that the school is busting at the seams. At what point do we say we have to look into something, whether it's data, whether it's, you know, shifting the district a little bit? No matter how you do it, it has to be a slow process, and it has to be one where you're not hurting children. You know, I would never look to do something like that, but something has to be done for there to be equity across the district. Do you really believe there's equity in having a school with 590 students versus we have other buildings that have 187, 268,
Yeah, no,
300,
right.
224, 250? I mean,
Right, I see what you're saying,
Like,
but
I mean, we have to
Cherokee
be
is
a
a bigger
realist here.
school too.
but we have to be a real, no, but that's my point. Boston and Cherokee look like the exact same school from the outside, when I think Cherokee just has the extra wing.
Yeah, and the atrium's a little bigger. I think it's 13 more rooms than
Right, the
Cherokee.
atrium has to be
Okay,
to do the 4
so
versus.
look at it like this, there's 13 more rooms okay? We have over 200 more students. 13 more rooms. I mean, I'm just saying, you guys have to be realist how it
So
works out.
13 times 20 is 260 over here, we got the mathematician. So it just makes sense, is the 13 rooms actually does give you that number.
Right, but it doesn't take away from, we have a building with 590 kids in an elementary school, which at one point, there were more. I mean, when I went to school there was even more. But the class sizes were bigger, there was a lot of different things that were taking place back then. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm just looking at equity across district. You have schools where you have two sections at 29, 2 sections at 29, 2 sections at 29. I mean, I'm just saying, yes, you have to split that because you can't have 1 section at 29. So it's the luck of the draw. But at what point do we look at it as a full district and say something has to be done to make it more equitable across the district?
Now that I'm hearing that you said Cherokee has 13 more rooms, but yet there's 15 more sections than Boston. So just logistically, I don't know if you have that answer, but how does that work when there's only 13 more classrooms, but yet there are 15 more sections at Cherokee than Boston?
Right.
Where are those other 2 classes?
The CAPS and the
Where are they
UPK.
sitting?
I think it's the CAPS program.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the UPK CAPS
Right.
program too.
Oh, so the UPK caps are included in the column with the sections, but not the enrollment numbers? Or what do you?
No, Cherokee
I'm trying
doesn't
to get
have,
at.
I thought Cherokee doesn't
No.
have UPK anymore. I thought they moved it out of there.
That I'm not sure of.
You're correct.
I'm
just-
correct,
yeah,
right?
I'm
They
looking
moved
at
it
the
to
column.
Duffield and Slocum. I thought Duffield and Slocum had them at one point, now I think it's Slocum.
Slocum, Pearl, and Idlehour are our UPK programs, as I understand it.
Okay, Slocum, Pearl, and Idlehour.
Pretty impressive, John's.
And the section numbers are not inclusive of the UPK section numbers.
Right. But that was, we moved that a few years ago because Cherokee didn't have enough classrooms to accommodate the UPK and have our kindergartners down there. I remember there was an issue with moving, we were moving students where the atrium was made for kindergartners.
Yeah.
Good?
Yes.
Last slide. So just, this slide is really just a reminder slide that the budget guidelines have already been adopted by the board. Just from an elementary perspective here, K-2, we try to keep the classes 22 and under, and grades 3 to 5, 25 students and under. Any other questions?
I have one quick question about a slide that was a little while ago. The fourth slide, the one that has, I don't know if you can see my screen. Go back again one more. I just wanted to know, and you might have said this and perhaps I missed it. For instance, right on the top box, it says 37/36-2. What are those, why are the 2 numbers?
So the 2 numbers represent the number of students who are enrolled in that grade and the number of students who are present on that day that the information was pulled. So 3736 at Boston represents there are 37 students who are enrolled, but on that given day, there was one kindergarten kid who probably felt like I did and is had a feeling not feeling very well.
Wait, so,
Okay, thank you.
we're looking at that, now even looking at that,
I'm getting over it.
so Cherokee had 625, OBMS at 567, RMS at 640. Now, we're going down to, it looks like, 560, right? It's saying 560.
Yeah, 560.
And then we're going down to OBMS 497 and
Well,
RMS
I
575.
just want to be cautious about that. The opening enrollment was 625. The attendance is 560.
Okay, so the actual
And the
enrollment?
actual enrollment is 624.
So, okay, so then we're looking at numbers, that's what I'm saying. So then these numbers aren't, on here you have 590, but on here we have 624.
Right,
So,
because again, I graduated the 5th graders, like
Right,
this
right.
is the current enrollment.
right, I understand.
So the other one that I put together is projected.
But so we have 624 versus our middle school, that's a larger building at 565. We have RMS, that's a large building, and that has 638 versus Cherokee 624. I'm just saying, look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
We agree. You done, Bob?
I'm done.
He's done.
I'm
Does
done.
anybody have any other questions for Mr. Hauser?
Nope.
All right, can I call for a motion and a second to approve financial matters 2 through 8? Motion.
Second.
Don't you have to do the
Any
hearings by
questions?
themselves, you know? We did that. Oh,
Any questions from the board?
you voted?
No, not yet.
That's what I said. That's when I closed the meeting.
Yes.
You just closed it.
Does anybody have any questions from the board?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The financial matters are mine.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Centimore?
Yes, on the instructional personnel agenda is the 10-year appointment for our Director of Guidance, Ms. Jessica Yannicola, who is in attendance tonight. And we want to congratulate her on this nice step in her career and look forward to a bright future here in Connecticut. Thank you, Ms. Yannicola.
Congratulations, well deserved.
Thank you for all you do for our kids.
Can I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 9 of the consent agenda?
Motion.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, I wanted to ask about number 7, the calendar, the academic calendar.
Sure.
I noticed that for 2026, Memorial Day, those snow days, well, they're slated to be snow days, I know the weather goes, but it's Friday and the Tuesday after Memorial Day. Normally it's the Thursday and Friday before Memorial Day. Can you just explain how that happened, why it's like that?
So the question is, why the snow makeup days?
Why is it Friday and
Tuesday rather
Tuesday
than
and not
Thursday,
Thursday, Friday?
I think it's been Thursday, Friday for most of these.
It has been Thursday, Friday for many
I
years.
think it's been Thursday, Friday for a long time.
I've always known it to be Thursday, Friday.
Oh,
Yes.
always Thursday,
Okay.
Friday.
Was there
If you-
was there an agreement with one of the unions, or was there some issue with
No,
that?
we got feedback from them, but no agreement. If the board would like, we could go back and revisit the calendar and put it up for the March meeting. If the board would prefer that the snow makeup days be Thursday, Friday, as opposed to Friday, Tuesday,
I think that's what the community's been very used to. I mean, don't get me wrong, my birthday's the 25th, I wouldn't mind being, it's not the next day, but, this is what we're used to, the Thursday, Friday, so I'm for keeping it Thursday, Friday. I think people plan trips, sometimes there's tournaments, sports, whatever it is, so I'd rather see it Thursday, Friday.
Excuse me, thank you.
John just asked if he's following the BOCES calendar.
We are following the BOCES calendar.
yeah, school districts will use their local BOCES calendar as a template. It's never 100% because there's different number of days. And in terms of snow makeup days, I'm not sure, but we will go back and revisit the idea of a Thursday, Friday with the snow makeup days.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to pull number 7, because we'll just approve the CSEA calendar and not the academic.
Now, the CSEA, are they okay with keeping it like that too? Because it's the same thing. Did they agree to this?
No, I don't think they have that.
Dr. C, did the CSEA agree to having their snow day, like I said, on the Friday, like Jackie's saying, and the Tuesday?
Yeah, so, Miss Poppy will go back and revisit the snow days in terms of both calendars.
Okay.
I think we should
All right,
table
so I'm
both.
just going to table number 7. So can I have a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 6 and 8 through 9?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And item number, I need a motion and a second to table item number 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, superintendent's update, Dr. Centimore.
Thank you. So our seniors had a fun experience on their recent trip to Villa Roma. The OBMS musical Alice in Wonderland was wonderful. Congratulations to our students, staff, and parental volunteers. ConnectWat's Broadway caliber performances will continue in March with the high school's musical production of Legally Blonde. Can't wait for that. OBMS also held a fun in-school event to promote kindness this past week. It was called Kind, Kids Inspiring a New Direction, where teachers dressed in thematic character inflatable costumes and performed an obstacle course for students. Mr. Piemo dressed as one of my favorites, Captain America. Kudos to all the staff who were involved, and it looked like the kids really had a great time. This past Saturday at the high school, the Model UN had a very successful event. Thank you to all of our students and staff involved with that. Tomorrow night, there will be a college night for our juniors. Tomorrow night at the high school, 7 o'clock, college night for our juniors. This week is Random Acts of Kindness Week, culminating with P.S. I Love You Day on Friday, which happens to be Valentine's Day. Student Services is helping to spearhead this special week in our schools. And of course, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. We are excited and looking forward to the PTA's district-wide Harlem Wizard event on February 27th. The game starts at 7, but you might want to get there a little bit earlier. As we approach March, the high school will hold a mock trial event on March 5th. And as always, I mentioned our PTA, but as always, we thank our PTA, SEPTA, ORVA, Civics, and Rotary for all that you do for our students, staff, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Centimore. We have our Board of Ed committees, the Technology Committee.
So we met to continue discussing how we want to do our website changes. For transparency purposes, just so everybody does know that you can go to the technology section of our current website to see meetings from our last committee meeting for the technology meeting, if anyone was interested. We did, as a committee, have voted on a templated version of the smart sites if we were to execute on it, and it was actually almost 100% voted for the same one. So we did spend in groups during that meeting kind of exploring different personas of if I'm a parent and I go to the website, what's important to me, if I'm a community member, if I'm a student getting to the website. And we also got data about what our most visited sub-sites are within our website currently to decide what we wanted to highlight on the new one, make sure it was easy to find. So we're really into the, I would say, like full force planning of how to make our website way better for everybody involved.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. The Mental Health Advisory Committee.
You want address? All right, one by 10.
No, that's okay. Okay, so yeah, we had our mental health advisory council meeting on February 5th. And we, of course, we talked again about grit and how to incorporate that into our curriculum and into just our ConnectWatt T-Bird way. There's some great ideas of showing, showing actual images, maybe using our T-Bird in some way, of our T-Bird just working towards a goal. We also did have some really great presentations by some of our staff, our social workers, our mental health staff, about how they push into lessons for elementary, K-2, 3 to 5. Some of them showed just like when they were younger, healthy habits, brush your teeth, wash your hands, all these things. And then they got into different other topics such as coping strategies and positive thinking, your self-esteem, your growth mindset. They did a great job with that. They even talked about another presentation about your friendship skills, your relationships. One thing that I thought was really interesting is of course, bullying is always a topic, but just simply showing children how to distinguish between bullying and a kid being mean, and how to handle that, how to go about dealing with that. Also, personal safety, they address that too. They push into the classroom with that. Your personal space, if you're uncomfortable, nobody should be touching you. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable if somebody wants you to approach them or touch them. So all these different, and of course your boundaries. So it's really great to see how they work towards these parts, the mental health of our students, and just give them, different tips. Our social workers are great. They're, wonderful people, and it was really nice to see what they do, how they push into our elementary classes, and the lessons that they try to give our students. If you want to add to that. Okay. All right.
Great, thank you. The anti-bullying task force?
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so I went today to Sycamore Avenue School, Elementary School, where Officer Fernandez was doing an internet safety assembly. When I was there, he was speaking to fourth graders, actually right here in front, and he was doing a fabulous job. What a great presentation. I'm looking forward to going to the high school and seeing his presentation later this week. We were going over random acts of kindness, the Suffolk County PD internet safety presentations, which is wonderful. They're coming into all our schools and doing free presentations for all of the students. PS I Love You Day, 2025 theme, A Brighter Tomorrow Begins Today. We were going over bullying prevention programs, following up with the bullying presentation that we visited over at Comac. Over at Comac, where the DA came in and it was a free presentation, so it was something we were looking to bring in with also Mr. Lucero. We'll see if he's able to do that. He did a great presentation he had lost his brother in an act of violence, and it was really something. It was a hate crime, and the presentation really hit home. Again, that was at Comac. They did a great job. We're looking at trying to do something here at Connecticut, very similar. They were going over the ABC Club training in March, emotional awareness, social learning, going through monthly themes. February was empathy and kindness, caring leaders, kindness wall of fame at Student Services. They're putting up pictures of students, very nice, who are the caring leaders. They're doing a community partnership, providing professional education and community support with YES, Youth Enrichment Services. Later this week, they had at RMS, I wasn't able to make it there, so I'm going to make it to the one at OBMS. They're doing a Mr. Dave. I believe it's called Mr. Dave. I'm going to see where I have it circled. Yes. They're doing, it's Stop Bullying Now, presented by Dave Moreland for all grades. So they're doing an assembly on Friday, it looks like, at OBMS. They did one at RMS on Monday. It's a powerful speaker about stopping bullying now. It's the assembly for all grades. Last but not least, everybody is being asked to wear purple on PS I Love You Day. They're going to have places like, this one, RMS is doing flags will be set up by the students before school. Purple Heart stations for pictures with candy and balloons. Remember we went that year? It was so nice. Different schools are doing different things. I know that OBMS has, like tomorrow, Wear Connecticut Spirit apparel. They're doing on Thursday, Play Your Heart Out, wear your favorite sports team. And Friday is Wear Purple. You have schools like John Pearl. They're doing Words of Kindness Wednesday, Thoughtful Thursdays, and the PS I Love Yous all for Friday. Schools like Idlehour doing Wednesday, they're doing all grades will receive lessons from Northwell, Healthy, and Upstander. Dignity for Infinity, wearing blue. That was very nice. They're also doing, everyone will receive on Thursday, rubber bracelets from the PTA with positive affirmations written on them. Be kind to yourself. There'll be a PTA assembly, cultivate kindness, color the world with kindness, wear tie-dye or clothes with multiple colors. It's so nice to see all of the schools. Every single one has a different, like at Monday they did at Duffield, they did Team Up Against Bully, wear your favorite sports jersey. They brought in Suffolk County PD Officer Fernandez. He does, like I said, an incredible job with his presentation. They did K-1 Intro to Police, 2 to 3 bullying prevention, 4 to 5 internet safety. They're doing Tuesday peace, love, and kindness, cultivate kindness. On Wednesday, walk in my shoes day, students dress like your favorite teacher and teachers dress like a student, that's tomorrow. Thursday, kindness is our superpower. It's so nice to see what they're all doing. Cherokee is doing tomorrow, Shine Bright with Kindness. They're doing Everyone Counts, wear a shirt with a number on it on Thursday. On Wednesday, they're doing a Respect Life Assembly. Different schools are doing different things, but oh look, they're doing that one tomorrow at Basti. Basti is doing the Respect, it's different spells. Kindness Assembly. They're wearing their favorite sports team apparel. Kindness Shines Bright on Thursday. Share the Love on Friday. So wishing everybody a very happy Valentine's Day. Happy PS I Love You Day. And really, it's good stuff coming down. This bullying prevention district-wide task force is really working hard to bring in whatever they can to really combat bullying.
Thank you. Curriculum committee, it's me. So we met, and we really just did a couple of breakout sessions. We had a discussion about the new New York Inspires, which there's a lot coming down from New York as far as education goes. There's a lot of unknowns still that, as we know them, we'll share them, but we don't know anything right now. We talked about focusing more on the elementary level, middle school music courses, lesson structure, special education types and how to transition, grade 6 coding implementation, which I thought was really, that would be exciting. The requirements for accelerated honors courses, elementary reading instruction and intervention, weighting of Regents grades and the overall student average, and also the weighting of the secondary grades in grade categories, just having a uniform way of the teachers weighing the grades throughout a subject area. So we had discussions on those. And you wanted to say something about the Developmental Disabilities Committee?
Yes. So our meeting got canceled due to the snow delay. And also the task force, Drug and Alcohol Task Force meeting was pushed off because he was doing a meeting with, they were doing a meeting with some of the people who come in and speak rather than having the meeting. What I was going to say is that I think that it would be so nice for people to check their emails. There is a shirt that is being sold for SEPTA. It is from the Disabilities Committee. A child, we had spoken about it at the last board meeting, the child actually was picked. Their design was picked as the actual shirt design, and it's so nice. The money that's being collected is actually going to SEPTA scholarships for students this year, which would be really nice to support and see. The more that they can raise, the more scholarships that we'll see for these students. So anybody who's looking to get a nice t-shirt, you have until, I believe, is it Friday or Monday? I think it's, or Saturday. I want to say it's Saturday this week. So if you're looking to get a t-shirt, try to get one before the weekend.
Yeah, they're trying to have them in before the first week in March, since that starts the Disability Awareness Month.
I did get the email, but I have seen links on Facebook, social media pages also, so just look out for those. It was a very cool design. All right, Board of Ed topics. So the first topic is snow days. Does everybody know there's a 2-hour delay tomorrow? Enjoy sleeping in. Butterfly Coach Project. Oh, actually, before I get to that, so our Student Government Council that was here just before, she actually just emailed me. She forgot to mention that during the basketball tournament, they are looking for basket donations. So anybody that would like to donate anything that you can put towards a basket, or if you want to donate a basket, you can bring it to the high school to Mr. or Mrs. Piscatelli's attention. So Butterfly Coach Project. So we all talk about bullying and we all talk about what can we do. So this was actually presented to me from one of our community members. There is a former teacher who lives in Sayville and she is now a coach, and she comes to schools and she talks about bullying prevention. I had asked Ms. Poppy to look into it and try to get me more information on pricing and stuff, but I know she... Did she
So,
ask that?
Ms. Pisani
Okay.
was assigned the task of looking into that. She has called 3 different vendors, including the Butterfly Coach. She's yet to hear back from them. She emailed us today. She's still waiting to hear back from them. She hasn't. She emailed them last week. She's going to reach out to them again tomorrow. So I'm hoping she'll have an answer for us, and I will provide it to the superintendent, who can put it in his board update, or we can discuss it at the next meeting.
That would be great. I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that also includes some of the other things, like the counselor and the neuro,
Oh, good.
That was the one.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
yeah, from the event that a lot of us
Now-
attended.
There is a, yeah, that was the one that me, you and April went to on Marisol. What I was trying to find out was, what's the situation last year? I actually think it's a great idea with the butterfly. I saw it online. It was a very nice. I actually watched her on Instagram, a couple of us, so she's very good. I also had said, when I had written to somebody online, last year I had brought up the teacher from, I believe it was Ward Melville? It wasn't Ward Melville, I'm trying to think, that's where she lives. But it was a teacher that actually does it for athletes. And
I do remember. I
I
don't
brought it
remember
up,
where she.
I brought it up, and Mr. Mallory was supposed to look into it, and I recall him saying at the time that it was something, was along the lines of, oh, that she was doing it at other schools, and I said, yeah, she's brought in as a guest speaker for a lot, and she does an incredible job too. She works with the athletes, and we are seeing an uptick in bullying in our athletics. So what are we doing with that? Are we going to address it? Are we going to, I mean, this was somebody who I said we could bring in. We should really look into who we can bring in strictly for the athletics too, like to really hone in on that.
I know, I don't remember the person's name from last year. I know that he did.
Leah Jansen.
Leah Jansen, okay.
Yeah.
I'll ask him again. I know last year he did look into that. And of course, anytime there's any concern, bullying or any inappropriate conduct, the athletic department follows through on it.
All right, I want to go off with one more thing.
Thank you. So any information you can get us on that project?
So one of the board discussions was special education, but I want to just, since we went over it, I was okay with moving on from it, but I wanted to bring up, Dr. C, I wanted to look into what we're doing with OTs. Are we looking to try to bring our own in? I know I had heard that that was something that could be looked into and was being looked into. Are we looking to bring them in? I mean, that is, we could save money and also have the additional help right here in district.
In terms of occupational therapists, I'll have to follow up with special education department and also, since it would involve in-house personnel, Ms. Nicole first of all.
That'd be great, thank you.
Thank you. So now we have Model UN. So this past Saturday, I had the privilege of going to the high school to see Connect Monk. So our own Connect Monk students hosted several other schools throughout Long Island in our own Model UN. It was so great. Senator Wyke gave the opening speech. She was very inspiring to the students. Just going into the different breakout rooms, I hate saying that the Senate is my favorite, but the Senate was my favorite. Like, just seeing all the kids dressed up in their student ties and just having the debates back and forth with each other, it was impressive. The coach, everybody did such a wonderful job. I'm blown away by that assembly every year, so I love it. A great job by them.
I want to just thank, piggyback with you. I was unable to go to the play on the nights that it was available to you guys. So I want to just thank OBMS and the advisors who allowed me to come be there audience for one of the dress rehearsals. Did you just jump ahead of my next? I don't know, mine doesn't have, look at this.
No, it's the one in your envelope. Go look in your folder.
Yeah, but that's why, I don't see anything.
Yeah, it's
See?
in your folder. Mine.
Well, listen, that's why.
Do
Do you see what I got? This is what happens when I get a piece of paper that doesn't have half of the things on it. So I'm just adding it. Just adding. No, well, I just wanted to say that it was, you guys could go over how great it was that night, but I just want to say thank you because they really went out of their way, and I thought it was so nice. The kids were doing their dress rehearsal, and they were so excited to have somebody in the audience, so I made sure to clap extra loud, but it was so nice that I got to see it. Thank you to OBMS, thank you to the advisors and teachers that allowed it. I appreciate it, and the kids did a fabulous job. I'm so sorry I missed the actual presentation, but I unfortunately had something with my own children, and not unfortunately, it was great, but like I said, it was, I hate to miss, I like you, I hate to miss all the plays, any play. So again, great job by all the students.
So Alice in Wonderland Jr. So I went to the closing night, which I'm always blown away by our music department, by our children, by how talented they all are, by how fearless they are to get on that stage and just the performances that they put on in front of all of us. They truly are just so amazing. It was a pleasure to watch them. The thing that OBMS does that impresses me each and every time, Miss White has 2 casts. She has an understudy cast. So those students learn multiple roles within the play, and they perform those. One cast goes one day, another cast goes another day. So they all get that chance, and they all learn those roles, and then they flop other roles. It's just amazing. The talent is incredible. I know you went to see it in April, so please go on and tell everybody how wonderful they are.
It really was, and again, me too, I'm blown away by when I see these kids up there that performing, and like Marisol said, they do learn multiple parts. That's not easy to do, and they're just incredible. And the stage crew, they come out, you can't do without their help, and they switching things around for them, the staff, and it's one of the things that I always love about these shows, besides the talent, the music, the entertainment, is the collaboration. These kids have to, they all work together so well. Not even just the kids that are in their roles, but the stage crew's waiting there to come out. As soon as they, scene goes black, they're out on stage changing. The next kids are waiting in the wings for their cue. And it's such an incredible project that all of these kids do together. And they're all happy. They love it, and they do a beautiful job, fantastic job by everyone. I loved it. I can't wait to see Legally Blonde. Totally looking forward to that at the high school. Keep up the great work to all of you, the kids, the staff, all of you. Fantastic job to everyone.
Agreed.
Thank you. Investigations, Mr. Palatano-Forno.
So I had added investigations and corruption on the Board of Ed topics because I've seen things over the years that were bad, but this is like the worst I've ever seen it. And I just think that we need to be mindful that when you have a very solid board majority, we need to realize that, like they've said in other quotes, with great power comes great responsibility. And I've said this to many people who reached out to me. I am only one person. I am not in the majority, at least not the majority perceived by the community on this board. I sit alongside the other Jackie, and a lot of times our voices are not the two that are in the majority. And I am trying and hoping that going forward we can see more of not so much a cohesive board, but we can see that the board majority looks at every detail of things before making votes. In the future, there's going to be more of these investigations. And at what point do we say at what point are we saying they are necessary, and at what point are we saying we are wasting taxpayer dollars? So we need to have a balance. And I'm not so much talking about what the issue going on in the community right now. I'm talking more about the board and what's going to be coming down at the next board meeting. And I just think at that point, I will have no issue but making a statement then. But I think people need to realize at the end of the day, when we are having investigations and they are just, there's no resolve in them, and what ends up happening is we waste taxpayer money. That's what goes on. Unfortunately, legally, we have to do what we have to do to some degree, but there's also other avenues, and it would just be good if the board majority would look at all avenues.
Thank you. Does any other board member have anything that they would like to discuss?
No.
All right. I will now open the floor to the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping to the podium. You should have received a number card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. The use of foul language and threatening comments will not be tolerated, and the board will consider a recess until order is restored. In accordance with Policy 1230, public comment will not exceed 30 minutes. If there are additional persons wishing to speak, the board may consider a motion to extend the time. Number 1. Unless you went from the other comment, then number 6.
I didn't go. That was number.
You're number 1, sir?
Yes, number 1.
Number 1, too?
She got number 6 from the first one.
Just making sure it's not the same one.
Okay.
Hit the button on the right, on this button.
Okay. Greater Ronkonkoma Civic Association is going to have their meeting tomorrow. We have some topics that are probably important to the district or people who live in the area. We're going to do the lithium battery storage. TriTech is looking to do something with Midway Crossing that's in our school district. They want to be there and talk to us about what we think it should be, since it's been tabled for right now. And the Long Island Railroad crossing Ocean Avenue and Pond Road, we're looking to see what everybody's thoughts are on that. One of the things that we've always wanted to do was kind of join the civics together a couple of times a year. We are doing that. Greater Ronkonkoma, Bohemia, and Oakdale are meeting on Monday, March 10th, down in Oakdale at 7 o'clock. That's going to be all 3 executive boards. We're going to be up there with a couple of members. We're going to open it up to everybody and talk about all the things that kind of impact Connect-Quad itself, and the 3 boards can kind of, like the civics, can kind of put together some sort of game plan to see what all of us are working on and how we can kind of make it just a little bit better, for instead of individually working on things, working on it together. So if anybody wants to come down tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, RMS is the Greater Ronkonkoma Civic Board. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
I think you can jump to 6.
She's coming.
Also known as.
AKA 6. I'm just going to let you read through them, and then we'll try to answer as many as possible.
Before I start,
Right, quick.
is it on?
The right button on the bottom.
Okay, before I start quick, the reason why they might have done that Friday, Tuesday thing is because Wednesday in a lot of school districts now, they have off for Eid, so it might have been to adjust for that, so you'd have off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday, so it might have just adjusted over. I don't know if what our district's doing that, but I know other school districts are, because they're adding that to the academic calendar this year, so that Wednesday, the 27th, would be Eid, and that's right after that Memorial Day weekend, so that might be why that's like weird this year. Okay, quick, I'm gonna do as fast as I can. I just looked at the executive budget proposal for our foundation aid and all that stuff for this year. It looks like we are definitely going up, and there's like some things that our spending is going down, and like, let's see, our high cost, excess cost is going down, our private excess cost. So it seems that we're going to have a 2% foundation aid change positive. At least this is from the state from like January 25th, I believe this is. Yeah, oh, 21st. As of the 21st, this is what they were looking at. So there's a lot of information on that, questions on that, but because I only have 3 minutes. Okay, so it says the executive budget ensures that each district receives at least 2% year-to-year increase. That's the recommendation from the executive budget recommendations for elementary and secondary, which I'm sure you guys know. Things I just want to point out for the public though too also is that it's also representing a decrease of 1.93% from the prior school year for categorical grant programs. So but it's raising in other areas, so it's kind of like balancing each other out. So I know people will say, oh, you know, things are cut, but important to know that. So let's see. Sorry, I tried to fold up what I could here. Quick, because I did want to ask about grants, actually. Oh, so let's see. We have competitive grants. So funding's been provided to encourage school districts to implement innovative approaches to achieve academic gains and management efficiency. We have a grant writer now, so I hope that we're going to be doing this because the executive budget continues this effort by providing a total of $85.99 million in funding to support this innovation and student and district enrichment services. So I hope that we are utilizing that. Let's see, we also have the employment preparation aid for adult education programs, such as literacy and basic skills and high school equivalency programs for persons who are over 21 years of age and have not received a high school diploma. That might be something that we could look into implementing in our district if there are people who might have need for that. We could actually help parents or older students who maybe didn't make it through or whatever, and now they want to go back. If we have the opportunity to provide that through these grants, that would be an amazing thing.
Just, I think
Sorry. Oh, this was the other one. New York State Center for School Safety. So they have, the grant is the same as last year, $466,000 is available through the New York State Center for School Safety to disseminate information and provide training and technical assistance on violence prevention to schools and communities. So listen, anything that we could get in addition to the 2% that they're willing to give us, if we have that grant writer, let's definitely utilize that because this is all here, it's all there, preschool education. They're expanding that program, which is awesome. There's an increase of, 5.51%. So, and that's a very important thing to have that full day preschool. Summer school education program, because I know a lot of people are concerned about special education services. So I do want to bring this up. Summer school special education program is showing an increase of $9 million, which is a 2.23% increase. So I just want to hopefully alleviate some fears that some people are having now, rightly so. So just a couple of things to think about, hopefully. And with the projections, Jackie, yes, it's definitely over 1,000 kids that are special education, because in the 23-24 year, we had 1,009 that were, and we also had 34% of our district was economically disadvantaged in 23-24, so that's really something to think about when we talk about all these very expensive things that we want to send these kids on that I constantly talk about. We need to find a better way to fund. And also we had, although it was 1%, in 23-24 that we knew about, there were 77 families that had housing insecurity. That's huge. We need to really be aware of that, and also keep in mind that ELL number, we're at 5% a year ago. That's going to rise when you're talking about the projections further down the line, how we're going to fund different things and what we're looking at going forward. And we're seeing a decline in enrollment. In the last 10 years, we've declined over 1,000 students. So that's definitely something, and that's on the New York State website. That's not made up numbers. So definitely something to keep in mind going forward budget-wise, but that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And if you wouldn't mind, would you be so kind as to email the board some of those grant?
I will send, yeah, I'll send it to you.
That'd be great, thank you. Number 3. Number 7. She's good. Okay.
All right, I want to just say something, because we forgot. Dr. C, me and you, I forgot to bring up the legislative breakfast. So we went to the legislative breakfast at, and let me get, again, why my memory?
Longwood.
Longwood, right? Okay, at Longwood School hosted it. They did a fabulous job. What was so nice is, and I only thought about it after, Jenny, thank you for when you got up to speak, because they were going over grants and they were going over the money coming down from the state. And it was actually very informative. They actually had all of the legislators, and they had the senator and a bunch of different assemblymen that were up there, and it was wonderful. They all got up there, they were speaking, it was all different government officials, and they were taking questions and answers, and at one point, a student got up and spoke. That one student, that was incredible, got up, who's disabled in so many ways, and she ended up playing the piano by speaking, right? Wasn't it by breathing? Wasn't it by, or blinking, eye blinking? Was it
Well, she demonstrated how a disability turns into an incredible ability. She was
Yes.
very inspirational.
It was incredible. She played the piano in an incredible way. It was just magnificent. And to see what they've done technology-wise, and also what they've done, and what the legislators and what our senator and all of the different officials are trying to do to bring more money to New York, working together from all sides, all different sides of politics. It was more about everybody working together to help education. It was really nice to see, and I just want to thank Dr. C for allowing us to go as well with him, and it was a great experience.
Thank you. Can I call for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye, have a good night.
Everybody get home safe. Enjoy the sleeping in tomorrow.